Welcome to True Vine Talks with Rachel and Linda.
We're back.
Woo, we're back. Yeah, so here's a kind of a topic that has kind of showed up a lot for me in therapy in the past couple of weeks. That's feeling rejected. Yeah. And when you feel rejected, what happens for you in your relationship? And what happens to your inner child when you feel rejected? And how do you protect yourself from those feelings of rejection?
Yeah,
What is rejection? Like, I'm trying to make sure that everybody can hear me.
I hear you crystal clear. Sounds
Rock
great.
on.
Yeah. So we're defining rejection, huh?
Yeah.
And you sent me some articles and some awesome resources earlier this morning, and I really liked that the one kind of defined it as feeling like your relational value has been lowered.
Mm,
I thought that was interesting. I'd
mm,
never thought of it that way.
yeah. Your relational value has been diminished. Hmm. Yeah, that's the core of who we
Yeah.
are as animals, is to have connection and acceptance and be part of the tribe.
Absolutely. That sense of belonging, on Maslow's hierarchy of needs is so important. So if we feel like we're not going to be able to achieve that, it's really scary.
Mm-hmm. Not feeling seen, heard, or wanted by people that matter to you.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is that how you would define it? What's your definition?
Yeah, so I was being a cheater and going on the the Google. Um, it's dismissing or refusing someone's um reach or their presence, dismissing that person.
Nice. Oh, I like that. So, like, that's the behavior of rejection. Like, that's what's actually happening, right?
Yeah.
Dismissing or refusing. And then on the receiving end, what you feel is that decrease in value,
Mm-hmm.
perceived or fear of not being valued or appreciated.
Yeah. So a little story when I was in middle school, when, identity is everything, the social construct, do you have the limited, the Nike, the name brand, all that jazz. I don't know why I did that
Yes.
with the hair, but
Well, whatever the hairstyle is, the eyebrows, that's always changing too.
yeah,
Yeah.
couldn't afford any of those things because we were very poor. And there was a time where another peer looked at my shoes, and I may have shared this in another podcast. I can't remember now because we've done 85 or so. So, yay for us. So, I couldn't afford what was Keds. They had the little blue tag on
Yep.
them. They were leather. We couldn't afford those. So, I had what was called Dodds. Dodds, of all things, Dodds. And one of my peers looked at me, and we were standing in the bus line, and she looked over at me and said, Linda, what are those? Those are not Keds. Those are Dodds.
Wow.
Rejection.
Yeah.
So what do I do? Oh God.
Yes. It's so
Hide.
embarrassing. You want to just be invisible in that moment. Like my
Yeah.
shoes, the brand of my shoes somehow make me less worthy and valuable as a person to her in this moment.
Yeah. She was popular and smart. And I thought, wow, I'm just really rejected here as a whole. And that felt very sad too.
Yeah. Feels
Mm,
terrible.
yeah. And those are when, Rachel does such a good job working with our teens. is those feelings of being rejected by the popular group or their peers in some way. You internalize it so much. Yeah.
Right.
Hmm. So that
Keeps
feeling,
happening, right?
yeah.
Especially if it keeps happening, and
Hmm.
middle school, high school, it's when you kind of start to have a little crush on somebody,
Hmm.
start dating, right? Well, in quotes, just as dating as much as you can for that age, right? Middle school, high school, you're hanging out, you're talking, whatever. And if they decide, that that little like honeymoon phase or whatever is over, the infatuation ends and they move on, and you're just left feeling crushed and
Hmm.
rejected, and that just keeps happening. Like, why does nobody want to stay with me and, be my special person? People end up feeling like there must be something wrong with me, like
Hmm.
innately wrong with me as a human being.
Yeah. So a way to reframe that as an individual is to be like, well, 10% of people won't like me.
Yeah.
1 out of 10 people in the room won't like me, or my personality won't click. And there'll be something about me that doesn't mesh well with all people. There's the logical part that you can use to reframe that, like a cognitive reframe about
Hmm.
feeling rejected. Um, and you might say, well, I like this part of me. I like this quality of being friendly and generous. And, this person didn't like that. So they didn't like my qualities. And maybe Rachel, if I'd stayed with this person, I would feel like those parts of me can't show up. I can't be my true self.
Yeah. Maybe it
Mm,
has nothing to do with your worth and value and everything to do with it not being a good fit mutually, both ways.
yeah. So if a person isn't accepting you for who you are or what you're bringing to the table, okay. Okay. So that's okay that they don't feel like they can, fit the puzzle with you and make those parts of you shine and you make those parts of them shine. So it's not compatible, I guess. Is that the right word? Like compatible?
Yeah, I think that's exactly the right word. Yeah, it's not
Hmm.
compatible.
Yeah. So rejection may save you a lifetime of pain in that sense that, well, if I'd stayed with this person, even though they rejected me, what's going to happen? They're
Gonna
going to,
feel that again and again and again.
hmm, yeah. The problem is a lot of people lie in the beginning of relationship.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I don't always think it's intentional. I think it's people putting their best foot forward, Sometimes it is manipulation if they're a narcissist, but not everybody is a narcissist. Most people want to put their best foot forward when they're meeting someone and they like someone. They want to impress you. They want to look good.
Yeah. So they may not show you all their qualities of toothpaste on the sink or their socks laying in the floor, their, you know, whatever bodily functions happen. I mean, people don't
Yeah.
show all their cards in the beginning
Right.
because the world is a play and we're all playing in roles here. So we want people to see our best foot forward. And I think that's why the attachment theory is so healthy is that transparency builds trust and trust builds bonds. So Dr.
Yeah.
Leanne Campbell references that a lot. And I think that's so true is, hey, here's all my parts. Here's what I am. Here's what I bring. I grew up with a traumatic childhood and I might be a little edgy. Here's what it is. I like that
Mhm.
transparency stuff.
Yeah. That comes out a little bit at a time. over a long period of time,
Sure.
right? Like, we're not going to show up on the first date or whatever and be like, here's all of me, take it or leave it. That
No.
would be, for someone that you don't really know this other person or how they're going to respond to that. We don't
Yeah.
want to set ourselves up for rejection.
Mm-mm.
That would be like fear of like anticipated rejection, right? Like, what is this person going to think of me? And
Hmm. Yeah. So yeah, like exactly, Rachel. Like you wouldn't just trauma dump in a first meeting with someone, giving them all your things because, hey, you're overwhelming their nervous system and their protective parts may come out and that might feel like rejection, but maybe you're oversharing today.
right.
Maybe it's a meet and greet, not a therapy session.
Yeah.
In relationship, we're talking about in romantic relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. But once you're, like, committed, long term, whatever you want to use to refer to that, you've known this person for a long time, you feel that that trust and safety is there, you do start sharing, these parts of
Mhm.
yourself, parts of your past and your goals and dreams for the future and what have you. Yeah, it's important that all of that has a safe place to land, that it's going to be accepted.
Accepted. Hmm. That word is so meaningful in relationship. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
It's the
the
opposite
opposite
of rejection, right?
the opposite of rejection is, do you see me? Do you see that I'm flawed? And will you still accept me?
Hmm.
Will you look at me and say, that's okay? I see that you have a lot of good qualities too. Who doesn't want to hear that?
Oh, I think everybody does. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. The types of rejection, and I'm just looking at our notes, there's, you know, in like putting forth your best foot, like sometimes in a couple, the person may doll up that day, or it's getting ready to be Valentine's Day. So we're going on a date and I want to look good for you. And, if the other partner doesn't notice your effort, what happens on the inside?
Yeah, you feel kind of ignored, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
right? They didn't notice, they're not paying attention, they must not care.
Mm-hmm. And when you
Yeah.
feel like someone doesn't care, what happens next?
You feel hurt, right? And so you either gonna lash out, right, out of anger, right? I don't deserve this hurt that I'm experiencing, this defensive
Mm-hmm.
response, or you're going to feel ashamed and you're going to withdraw. You're going to go inward and isolate, distance yourself, and detach.
Yeah. And then the other partner's over there going, hey, where did you go?
Or, whoa, what's this reaction about if it's anger, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah. What's the anger about? Of course, if they haven't been in EFIT or emotionally focused couples therapy, the language looks different. It's like the attack.
Hmm.
Well, you didn't notice I was dressed up for you. Well, you didn't notice I worked out, or you didn't, just these, the arrows keep coming, and then you're in the whole negative cycle and demon dialogue
Like,
because that
find the bad guy, you know.
find the bad guy, or yeah, when it's really about that feeling of rejection from your partner that sent you into the reactive behavior of the protest.
Hmm.
And the protest lands on your partner like, what? Huh? Who? What did I do?
Right.
What? Where? When? What? Yeah.
Yeah.
So then there's that part there that happens so quickly in rejection. Would you
Yeah,
say
it's
so?
fast. Yeah,
Okay.
it's really
Yeah.
fast, I think.
Yeah. And you don't even know it's happening.
Yeah. Or for a lot of people, it's if it's not fast, it builds up and it builds up and it
Mm,
builds up over time. And they're just collecting this jar of hurt and rejection. And then when their partner feels rejected and brings it up or tries to communicate or lashes out, the lid comes off that jar and they're rehashing the last 6 months of, right? And their partner's like, you never told me about any of this. What does this have to do with what I just said?
yeah. Good point, Rachel. Very valid point. What does the last 6 months have to do with right now? What's happening right now? And that's
Mhm.
what we do as couples therapists is we those little minor injuries throughout the bond and in time that weren't visited. Everything was left unsaid, like you said, that was put in a jar, rejection, the minor slights, the
Mhm.
not good mornings, the just those little things that we don't do for each other as rejection or
Yeah.
a feeling of rejection.
Yeah. So I think when we're talking about rejection in relationships, I think it's important to do some self-reflection and be aware of what do you currently do when you're feeling rejected? Do you stockpile those moments in a jar and wait for the right moment to let it all out? Do you lash out immediately every time? Or do you detach and withdraw and go into your turtle shell like we mentioned last time?
Hmm. Yeah. And what makes you do that behavior? Is it because of your inner child when she felt or he felt not seen, not heard from a primary caregiver, like you were being, rejected by them in some way? How did you manage that as a kid? Like,
Yeah.
how do you manage
You're
that? Rejection?
great. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not measuring up here. Oh, well, wow. Am I not measuring up with my partner either? I couldn't get it right from a caregiver. Now I can't get it right from a partner. Well, damn it, I don't care.
Mm,
Yeah. Why try? So you
yeah.
you withdraw or you protest.
Right? Because if I keep trying and I keep caring, I'm just going to keep ending up feeling like a failure
Hmm.
and getting rejected over and over. Right? So, you learn that kind of shrugging your shoulders, throwing the towel in protects you from that hurt and that shame of rejection.
The fear of rejection is drives a lot of negative interactions and behaviors. So yeah.
Yeah, if I felt kind of like I could never get close enough to a caregiver, right? Like they were always distracted or more interested in what they had going on. They didn't delight in me or cherish me.
Hmm.
If I'm talking to my partner and I'm asking them all these questions about their day, and then they don't ask me about my day, or they don't respond with that, like just being really attuned and paying attention, I'm gonna that's gonna trigger my inner child. I'm gonna
Hmm.
feel so hurt and abandoned and betrayed by that. Right?
Hmm.
Why aren't they putting in the same effort as
Hmm.
me? Why don't they cherish me the way I cherish them?
Hmm.
Yeah. So a lot of the time, the things, those moments that we feel rejection in link back to those unmet needs. in childhood. That's why we keep bringing up that inner child.
Mhm. Well stated, Rachel. Unmet needs that are linked to the inner child feeling not seen, not cared for, not heard,
Not
dismissed,
respected.
not
You
respected,
name it.
be seen, not heard. Don't be seen, don't be heard,
Don't exist.
don't exist. I don't even know
Take
why I had a kid, more or less. Like, you mean, you're sitting there asking yourself, why did you have me again? Why did you, what, as the kid,
yeah.
you're saying, well, I didn't ask to be here
Right.
in that sense. And, the people that I've been thrust to earth with don't want me. I'm kind of stuck here, sort of helpless, dependent financially for my
Yeah.
survival needs. But there's a rejection too. Oh,
Mhm.
yucky.
Very yucky. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's why in EFIT we work with the inner child in trying to assist the older, wiser part of ourselves to reparent the inner child.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's emotionally focused individual therapy, which sounds
Mhm.
like a workout, right?
It is a workout.
It is a workout for your mind, mental, emotional workout. Ask
Yeah,
anyone that's been to that type of therapy. They leave like and they're like, oh, I need to go chill. I need a nap now. Yeah.
yeah. And what do you think it is about the therapy that kind of exhausts the nervous system?
I think it's like it's making it, I mean, real in the room in that moment, right? We're deepening the emotion. We want to bring it alive, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like that sadness or that fear, that hurt. Like we want to, in a safe, confined space, we don't want to re-traumatize or relive horrible moments, but we want people to get comfortable with emotion. And how else are you supposed to get comfortable and allow yourself to feel emotion but to practice, right? So like I'm imagining this moment when my partner rejected me and this is what I felt in my body and
Mm-hmm.
this is how I wanted to respond. And by answering those types of questions, like we're bringing it alive. Like I said, the client begins to really feel that again in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And they can learn like, oh, okay, I can manage this. I,
Mm-hmm.
I, I can withstand this, right? I can take it. And they start to feel more in control, right, of their emotions versus the emotions being in control of them.
Mm-hmm. That's so good, Rachel. That's so well said. That corrective experience there is okay. You felt ignored here, younger self, and I want to help you not feel ignored. I see you and I'm here with you. What do you need from my older, wiser self in
Mhm.
this moment where, your parents are fighting and you're feeling alone? What can I do right now? And your younger self will sometimes in these interactions, we call it the empty chair technique, okay, with your younger self and older, wiser self, is you can like be there for them and say, hey, what do you need right now while your parents are in the background yelling at each other? And the inner child says, well, I could use a hug. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like Rachel said in one of our last podcasts, what is just a little blankie or a little bear or a little warmth there. And when you do that over and over again, the inner child soothes and the vulnerability starts to, become more alive in you as an adult. So you can be like, oh, I felt rejected when you didn't notice all the work I put into this for you. I felt rejected. And then I don't
Yeah.
want to be close to you when I feel that way. Yeah. It's that in between that I think people it gets confusing a little bit.
Right. Yeah. Because in the moment, as it's happening, you're so not aware that
Mm,
this is related to past experiences and this is your inner child. And so it's important to, after something like that happens, do this like reflecting and processing, like we're talking about, you know, like, wow, why did I respond that way? What happened? What was like that first domino that fell over that started this whole reaction, you know?
mm,
And a lot of times when we're working with people and we're bringing that emotion alive in the room, we might ask, how old did you feel
mm,
when that was happening? When you stormed off and you slammed the door because you felt rejected and hurt. Like, do you remember how old you felt in that moment? And they'll say something like, oh, I just felt like I was 16 again. And, my parents just didn't respect me. They were treating me like a child still, and I wasn't allowed to do anything or whatever. And so
and
that's
so,
our key into like, oh, okay, can you picture that part of yourself, that 16-year-old? Go ahead, Linda. What were you going to say?
oh no, you're doing a great job, Rachel. Yeah. Yeah. So that part where you said the 16-year-old, what did that part need? Autonomy, power, um, control. The 16-year-old needed all those things.
Hmm.
Parents weren't giving them an opportunity to critically think or fail on their own or have a say or a voice there.
Hmm.
Yeah. So you would like, say, well, if you could protest to your parents right now, what would that look like? Yeah. Hey, I got this. I know right from wrong. I can go to this party and do just fine. Let me do it. Let me try. And then you give that part of yourself permission to have autonomy when your parents wouldn't let you have autonomy.
Yeah. Because like we're healing that past event that's
Mm-hmm.
coming back up in the present, and we're also making sense of a moment in time, with your partner that you then will have the words to share with them versus I can't believe you did that, or it's more clear than you hurt my feelings, which is important to share, but
Mm-hmm.
not as black and white as when you did this, right? It activated that part of me that longs for this
Mm-hmm.
need, right? And you be specific about it, autonomy or to be understood, whatever that need is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I responded with defense or by walking away or because that felt safer in that moment than expressing hurt.
Very well said. And keep in mind, if your partner has any familiarity with attachment or has read it, Hold Me Tight, or they're going to be lost. So if you're,
That's true. We use a lot of therapy language, right, when we're talking about this stuff on the podcast, and not everyone has ever heard that before. That's very new to people.
yeah. So familiarize yourself with attachment theory or therapy, EFIT, Hold Me Tight work in order to make sense out of your own inner child experiences and your adult relationship, because what we're talking about won't make any sense to you if you have no familiarity with that. Would you say that's accurate, Rachel? Or
Yes, I would say that that's accurate. Yeah. What are some good book recommendations, putting us on the spot, both of us, for people who are not familiar with attachment but would like to kind of begin learning the language and the basics? Is
yeah.
Attached I think is the
Mhm.
title of one book. It's like the new language of love or something like that by
By
I could,
Amir Levine and
yes.
Rachel F. Heller.
Yes, that's a great one.
I love the emotionally focused couples therapy for dummies. And I don't know why they keep dummies on there because it's very, to me, seems complex, although they keep it
Yeah.
very basic. Um, I'm trying to think of some more, or some more. I will think of some more, and
Mm,
yeah, we can share them later. It's just you
yeah.
got to familiarize. I can't use that word correctly there or say it right. Is what is attachment? Or do some YouTube videos on what does it mean to have secure attachment versus non-secure attachment.
Yeah. Raising a secure child is a good one if you're struggling in your parent relationship, like with your child, if you're feeling rejected by them or feeling frustrated and fed up. It kind of links, what might be happening now between you and your child to what happened with you and your parents and how that might be having a play.
Hmm. We are so complex.
Oh, stuff that happened so long ago that might have seemed so minor, or
Mhm.
huge if it's huge. But I mean, just you think, oh, the past is in the past. That shouldn't be affecting me now. It does, and it will continue to.
Pretty much. And it
Yeah.
takes a long time. Like it took, the first 18 years of being with your parents, it takes like 10 years or more to correct all the things that didn't go in a way that was healthy for you because we're imperfect people,
Yeah.
you know. And even the best of intentions, you don't get it right for people.
Yeah. You have no control over how someone's going to interpret what you say or do.
Well
And
said.
that's what leaves the lasting impression, unfortunately, right? Is how did that person interpret not what you meant, not what your intentions were. How was it interpreted by the on the receiving end?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So them not acknowledging all the doll up you did for them that day, maybe they're working on something they thought mattered to you, like painting a room or, you know, something like that, or building you know, a hot tub or something, which I would love have a hot tub. I would
Nice.
love to have a hot tub. Maybe they were out there building a hot tub and then you were like upset because they didn't notice your doll up, but they're doing something for you as an act of service of love.
Yeah.
And that's something how we miss it.
And so often it gets missed, right? When we're
Hmm.
working with couples, we hear it over and over again, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. How come you overlooked my effort? Didn't you see that I was trying to get you to notice me?
I just got my hair did and a new outfit and you didn't even notice. Yeah.
Hmm. So it's important to keep in mind that all people feel sometimes a little rejected by their partner or other people, not because people are out to make them feel that way. It's just sometimes our own internal experiences that we've had trigger those feelings of not being accepted. Is that
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Right. It's like we've got this I just lost the word for it. What do we call it in EFT? A soft spot? That's not it.
Raw spot.
Raw spot. Thank you. Yeah.
Job. Yeah, raw spot. Yeah. You know, like we've talked about in other podcasts, if you look at me a certain way and it reminds me of the person that hurt me as a kid, I'm going to be my raw spots rubbed there and I'm going to fear that the feelings are going to still show up because our brain, this, you tell me if I got this right. Our brain does not differentiate time from experiences and memory. that
No, I
even,
don't think it does it very well. I don't, yeah, I don't have like a resource I can cite for that, a research, but I think you're absolutely right.
yeah, I read that or heard that in a book I was reading, and I was like, that's
Mhm.
true. The memory doesn't differentiate the time frame in which I'm in.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I describe it to clients all the time as, like when that happened, your brain had a filing cabinet that it was going through, and it pulled out a file where something looked like, sounded like, felt like that before.
Mm-hmm.
In that folder, it had all these examples, and it set off the alarm. It pulled the fire alarm. Mayday, mayday, this doesn't end well. We have
Mm.
to respond immediately.
Yep. Fight, flight, freeze, or feigning. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got this like inner security guard that's like always, there on watch, on
Yeah.
duty, scanning the environment, protecting you
Mm-hmm.
from rejection, among all these other things, because rejection is so hurtful.
So painful. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I don't
Yeah.
know where we're going from there, Rachel. Can you tell me
Well,
after that?
I'm going with, interpersonal relationships are
Mm,
so innately important to us as human beings that, we're so alert to threat within them, you know?
mm,
And when we perceive a threat, again, it's all about perception. It prompts us to take action.
well
Right?
stated.
That's how important connection is to to every human being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so true. Hmm. Well, another approach, which is kind of the opposite, I can't speak, the opposite of what you just said there would be the Stoicism. Am I saying that right? Stoicism? Stoicism.
I've always said stoicism, but I could be wrong. I'm not sure. I
Might be
pronounce it wrong
Stoicism.
all the time. I used
Well,
to pronounce Gallipolis as Gallipolis. No, don't ask me.
Galapagos, let's go to Galapagos. I like it. Yeah, I'm sure I'm messing it up. Stoicism or whatever. The philosopher would say, if someone ignores you, like say you're in a Zoom call and a person is not being as validating towards you as they are the other participants, or they don't give you any cred for what you shared. The Stoic way of managing that as a person, as an individual, is to mirror that right back to them.
I think that's a way to handle like real rejection, you know?
Rejection.
Because there's different types. There's also like anticipated rejection, which leads to social anxiety, like, ugh, like what are people gonna think of me? You
Hmm.
really don't know, and most of the time they're not going to reject you, right? Or remembered rejection, like, I don't want to be around this person because I really embarrassed myself and I feel so guilty or ashamed of this behavior. uh, or imagined, which is what we've talked about a lot here, right? Like your partner was working on painting a room or putting in a hot tub, and were dolled up and they didn't notice. It wasn't like real rejection. They weren't betraying or abandoning you, but it
Mm.
felt that way.
Sure.
So we sense all the different kinds, and then but if someone's really rejecting you, they're constantly criticizing you, they've betrayed you, they're ignoring you, and not just like a temporary silent treatment. Like that's not okay, that's not healthy or good. But this is like they're always ignoring you, they're ostracizing you, they're acting like you don't exist. They want nothing to do with you.
That's when you just mirror back the same behavior.
Yeah, absolutely. Try not to react emotionally. No, don't react emotionally if you can prevent that.
Yeah. That will save you a lot of pain too, is,
Yeah.
move on. And in the stoic, uh, my son likes stoic. He got me interested in it. It's just move on to your own interest and pleasure and hobbies and self building and, you know, not focus on that one person who didn't receive you, you know, just mirror that back. Well, okay, we aren't for each other and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's healthy or safe to continue to try to be around someone that doesn't respect you, value you, or
Mm-mm.
even like you, right? Like that's walk away.
And how that might look in the workplace is, uh, you say the bare minimum politeness and move on.
Yeah. Just stay cordial, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. So that fear of rejection and feelings of rejection can show up in all areas of life. And I think Rachel and I are, what we're trying to communicate to you is that you won't always feel accepted. And then if you have a relationship cue that you feel your raw spot gets rubbed and you feel rejected, we want you to take a step back and maybe communicate that to your partner in a way that's helpful and not, you know, persecutory towards that person. And you just say, hey, I got all dolled up for you and, was hoping for some wonderful intimacy with you. And then you were gone and away from me. So I felt rejected.
Yeah.
That's how you name it to tame it, as Dan Siegel says. And Rachel taught me so well. Is name it to tame it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
Hmm.
I guess my kind of last words, what I hope everyone takes away is your value does not change based on other people's thoughts, feelings, or behavior, right? If someone else is not able to appreciate or see your worth, that has nothing to do with how valuable or important you are.
Hmm. God made you wonderfully and beautifully in your mama's womb. Yeah. And if other people can't see it, move on.
Yeah.
Move on. Hmm. Well, I hope this was helpful for our listeners. If you're wanting to do some EFIT therapy or emotionally focused couples therapy, we do offer that. You know, I think Rachel's booked right now,
I
and I have a
am.
couple of openings, so we'd love to be able to help you with those inner child wounds and feelings of rejection.
Yes. Until next time, everybody take care.
Bye.
Bye.